Most people think the masked guards in Squid Game were just following orders, carrying out executions, and keeping the games running. But what if I told you some of them were running their own secret operation inside the game? Most viewers didn't catch this, but a group of corrupt guards was secretly trafficking organs from eliminated players, making money on the side, and even collaborating with certain contestants to cheat the system. That's right, these guards weren't just enforcers, they were criminals inside a criminal operation. So, if Squid Game was real and law enforcement caught these guards, how long would they actually spend in prison? Would they be charged with murder, human trafficking, and conspiracy? Or could they argue that they were just trying to survive in a corrupt system? The truth is even darker than you think, so let's break it down. At first glance, the guards in Squid Game seem like loyal enforcers, blindly following the frontman's orders. But if you look closely, some of them were doing something far more illegal, running a black market organ trafficking ring inside the game. Think about it. These corrupt guards weren't just following orders. They were breaking the rules of the game itself for their own profit. They secretly harvested organs from dead contestants, made deals with an outsider surgeon, and even helped certain players cheat in exchange for favors. But here's the big question. If Squid Game was exposed, would these corrupt guards face worse punishment than the regular shooters? Could they be charged with murder, organ trafficking, and conspiracy? Or would they argue that they were just trying to survive inside a brutal system? South Korean law has strict penalties for human trafficking, corruption, and abuse of power. If the authorities ever caught these guards, they wouldn't just face a few years in prison. They could be looking at life sentences or even execution. So, let's break down each crime they committed and how much time they'd actually serve in prison. The corrupt guards in Squid Game weren't just following orders, they were breaking them for personal gain. While the other guards executed players as part of the game, this small group went a step further, exploiting dead contestants for illegal organ trafficking and bribery. Let's break down their worst crimes and see just how much prison time they'd actually face. Did you notice the secret medical operation happening behind the scenes? A handful of guards secretly harvested organs from dead contestants and sold them on the black market. They even worked with a contestant, the surgeon, to keep him alive longer so he could help them extract organs. Under South Korean law, Act on the Safety and Management of Human Tissue, organ trafficking is a major crime that carries at least 5 years in prison, with life imprisonment possible if the crime involves deception or coercion. However, because these guards were removing organs from unwilling victims who were murdered, this could escalate to human trafficking and desecration of corpses, adding multiple decades to their sentences. The guards involved in organ trafficking didn't just steal organs, they also killed people who found out about their operation. In one scene, they execute the surgeon after he's no longer useful, proving that they were willing to kill outside of the official game rules. Under South Korean law, Article 250, Criminal Act, murder carries a minimum of 10 years in prison, with life imprisonment or even the death penalty possible for premeditated killings. Additionally, these corrupt guards abuse their power by secretly helping certain players cheat. This breaks the integrity of the deadly competition and makes them just as guilty as those who ran the entire operation. Courts treat authority figures who use their position for crime more harshly, which would increase their prison time significantly. On top of organ trafficking and murder, the corrupt guards were involved in conspiracy and bribery. They made secret deals to smuggle organs out, worked with a contestant to help him cheat, and lied to their fellow guards to keep their operation hidden. In South Korea, Article 114 of the Criminal Act states that anyone who forms a criminal group with the intent to commit illegal activities can face an additional 10+ years in prison. Additionally, accepting bribes in exchange for unfair treatment is punishable under Article 129, which carries up to life in prison if it results in serious consequences. At this point, one thing is clear. These corrupt guards wouldn't just face normal murder charges, they'd be hit with multiple life sentences. But how much time would they actually serve? Let's break it down. Now that we've broken down the corrupt guards' crimes, the big question remains. How long would they actually spend in prison? Let's examine the aggravating and mitigating factors that could impact their sentencing. Certain factors would make the corrupt guards' sentences even more severe. Organ trafficking on a large scale, Courts always increase sentences for organized illegal medical practices, especially when victims never consented to organ removal. Premeditated murder. These guards didn't just kill contestants as part of the game, they murdered people to cover up their side operation. Courts give harsher sentences for planned killings, increasing the likelihood of life imprisonment or execution. Abuse of power and betrayal of their own organization. Unlike the regular masked guards, these individuals broke their own rules and ran an illegal scheme inside an already criminal operation. Courts often increase sentences for authority figures who exploit their position for personal gain. Conspiracy and bribery. The guards weren't just working alone, they formed a secret group within a criminal organization, making them guilty of conspiracy and organized crime, which adds decades to their prison time. With all these factors combined, most of the corrupt guards would likely receive multiple life sentences or even capital punishment. Could anything reduce their prison sentences? Possibly, but only in specific cases. Lower level involvement. Some guards may not have killed anyone directly or removed the organs themselves. If they only helped transport organs or bribed people, they might receive lighter sentences, 15 to 25 years instead of life imprisonment. Coercion and threats. If a guard could prove they were forced into participating and would have been killed if they refused, a court might show leniency, but only slightly. Cooperation with authorities. If a corrupt guard testified against the frontman or the VIPs, they might receive a reduced sentence in exchange for evidence, but they would still serve decades in prison. Even in the best case scenario, no corrupt guard would walk free. They'd still spend at least 20+ years behind bars, while those responsible for murder and organ trafficking would face life imprisonment or execution. Now, let's wrap it all up. After breaking down the corrupt guards' crimes, one thing is certain. They wouldn't just be punished like regular enforcers, they would receive some of the harshest sentences in the Squid Game operation. With charges of mass murder, organ trafficking, bribery, and conspiracy, South Korean courts wouldn't show any leniency. Given the aggravating factors, their betrayal of their own organization, premeditated killings, and direct involvement in illegal human organ trade, most of them would receive multiple life sentences or even the death penalty. Even if they argued that they were forced into corruption, courts rarely excuse organized human trafficking and murder for profit. The only way they might slightly reduce their sentences would be through cooperating with authorities. But even then, they would still spend decades behind bars. So here's the big question. Were the corrupt guards just trying to survive, or were they just as bad, if not worse, than the frontman and the VIPs? Let me know in the comments, and if you found this breakdown interesting, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Squid Game. Thanks for watching. Until next time.